We're going to get started here. It's 7:30. Let's kick this off. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. I know it's getting warmer outside. Weather's getting better. There's probably other things you could be doing. I appreciate your participation in this. I certainly love doing it, and the panelists that we've got tonight equally share that love for what we do in an attempt to get better on the field. So as you saw, we're talking about back judge position. Tonight we're going to focus primarily on punt plays and just the chaos that you back judges have to deal with. I joke about you do nothing back there, but it scares me to death as an umpire to imagine the stuff that happens so fast in front of you on those punt plays. And so tonight we got three championship level back judges, Mike Kelley, who you've heard talk before, Chuck Hickey, who has also worked championship games, and Jeff Penney is the current area director in Denver and also a championship back judge. And we kind of broke down these plays in three pieces. And so I'm going to turn it over first to Jeff Penney, and he's going to talk about pre-snap, and then Chuck Hickey's going to talk about positioning, and then Mike Kelley's going to talk about coverage, and then we're going to get into some plays. But I'm going to let this video run in the background while these guys talk through these plays. Oh, I wanted to point out, if you go up to where it says people in the upper corner, and you scroll down and you'll see the presentation, if you want to click that, and you'll see a little pin button. If you pin that, it'll make the screen all the presentation, and you won't have to see our ugly mugs pop up on the screen. So with that said, Jeff Penney, jump into pre-snap stuff.
Okay, great. Thanks, Kirk, and welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. Pre-snap for me and everyone I've worked with is just sets their mind right. It gets them in the routine, prepared, and I would tell you after the third down play starts, or after it finishes, I look at the clock. I go through the DBO, then I look at the clock. I ensure that the clock is correct, running or stopped. That begins my pre-snap. All right, so as players are now starting to form their huddle, I count players prior to RFP or while the ready for play is running, the signal, and then I look to the sideline and signal to the defending team to communicate with the wing. And if we get the 25-second play clock, then I know, hey, I'm now getting ready to prepare to read the offensive formation for strengths and alignment. Okay, I have my bing bag in my hand. I'm back in my position. I'll let Chuck speak more to the position part of this, but the thing that I think is key here, critical, and it's relatively, it's to think mentally about preparing. So be ready to roll on momentum if you're getting close to the inside, near the goal line. Observe the action around the receiver. I think about that. I know I'm going to drop the bean bag at the end of the kick, but if the spot is also the dead ball spot, in which I don't need to stop the clock, or I need to stop the clock and hold the spot, I won't throw a beanbag then. But I think about that. I think about just the ball carrier on returns up the middle and releasing. If Cade first touches it, then I'll mark the spot with the beanbag first touching. I think about that. I think about fair catch, and then the last thing is probably the muff or KCI. If I just think about that, then I know, okay, now I'm ready for whatever takes place. The other last part of it is, and I run through every play, is go slow. I take 2 seconds after play and DBO. And DBO is always the last part I think about on every play. I think that makes a good official. I think it makes them better, and I think it makes better officials. I think it makes them great, is DBO. So that's really my pre-snap, Kurt, as I run
Jeff,
through
let me ask you an umpire question of back judges, and you guys are going to hear a little bit of this throughout this. So talk a little bit about pre-snap on down distance and location on the field. You talked a little bit about goal line. Are you thinking different if it's maybe short yardage, even though you've got a receiver back there? Do you do anything different? Are you focused different on receivers if it's possibly if they're in that area where they might go for it?
That's a great point. No, down and distance, I should include that. That's always in one of my places that I include as something I look at. It's typically after I look at the clock and I give my down indicator. I'm looking at the down and distance. Yes, it does tip you off. It does help you whenever you've got short distance, or if you've got, third and long, you're going to expect a pass. So that should be incorporated and included in the pre-snap for sure, because that helps you kind of mentally prepare again to think about things that could possibly happen. So it doesn't come to you as a big surprise whenever it does. So good question.
Okay, let's jump into positioning, Hickey. Talk about how you position yourself on kicks.
So on positioning, we have had for a few years now with our mechanics book, so we should all us back judges, be familiar. We are starting 3 to 5 yards behind the deepest returner, and we want to be wide enough to where we can see both of his hands. We're looking at this Regis play from the drone. It might be good to be a little bit wider. We also stay within the hash marks. We don't start outside the hash marks anymore, or lean toward the headline judge side. When in doubt, like in this situation here, we're in the middle, I would lean toward the headline judge side, just because the headline judge doesn't come down immediately, and we could be on that side of the field. I also talk to my returner every time. If he wants the fair catch, just make sure he gets that hand up high, whether we're on the first punt of the game or whether we are late in the fourth quarter. Just give him that little reminder. If you want it and you want that protection, make sure you get that hand up high. If we have 2 deep returners, we're going to be in between them. Again, probably 3 to 5 yards deep, beanbag in hand. And we've talked about this before in our back judge seminars. We just want to stay still. We see a lot more, and we can be better officials if we are not moving and just watching the play. That's mostly where I'm at with the positioning. If our deepest returner, certainly on this play here from the 15-yard line and in, I know we talked about being 3 to 5 deep. We need to protect that goal line. So on this play right here with the deep returner lining up at about the 12-ish, be back on that goal line. You need to protect that goal line for fair catch, not fair catch, for touchbacks. And then, the returners will take you where they need to be. As Jeff said, these kickers and these teams probably don't think their kickers are as good as they are. But we still need to protect that goal line in these kind of situations.
It's interesting. So let's talk about, you were saying you never go outside the hash. Maybe never, we're not ever supposed to say never, but we try to stay inside the hash no matter where that return man. So even if he's lined up on the hash here, we're going to be to this side of him between the hash marks.
Correct.
Same thing the other way. So
correct.
So you don't
no matter
squeeze yourself out of that.
Yep, exactly. Our initial setup is going to be between the hash marks.
And let me add something to that, Chuck. I mean, one of these
Absolutely.
things as I see on this film here, and that receiver is about the 15. I might stay to the 5, and I'll tell you why. And I'll speak to it more in depth later, but the momentum rule may come into play here, possibly. So I can always get to that goal line, and the goal line is key. That's always on the forefront of my mind, as you stated. But I might, there's a chance I could stay at that 5, depending on if I know, the distance of how strong of a punter this guy is.
And I'm good with that. I think it's also, getting as the game goes along, you'll get a feel for your kicker. And if you're watching film, you'll get a feel for the kicker and from both teams. And okay, are they deep? Where are they angling these kicks? And starting at the 5 could be good. And, you could get back there and be able to judge it. And
Matt brings up a good point on the chat. It's always easier to move forward than to go back to the goal
True.
line. So, going to the goal line is actually that's a good option for sure.
Exactly. So
good point,
it's a feel for it. Just get a feel for the game, get a feel for your returners. Obviously, if this is our first kick of the game, we need to feel it out. But hopefully, we watched a little bit of film and we're able to see where these kicks might be going.
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump into coverage. Mike, you got the mic.
Mike's got the mic. Okay, thanks, Kirk. So coverage starts with a legal snap. We need to maintain our awareness of the play clock. But once we have a legal snap, we're going to check a quick check of our normal scrimmage play keys. They may tell us something about whether or not we have a fake. From there, we're going to go ahead and let K tell us where the ball is going to go. We don't really need to focus on that return man because K is going to tell us what direction he's going to go. But we want to look at our blocks. And once we have a possession, we want to look at the return and action around the return man. And we want to continue that and make sure that we're the last man in between the goal line. In other words, all of the players are in front of us. This is a reverse mechanic. We're trailing the play. And then we need to make sure that if it goes into the bench, that we go strong into the bench to help alleviate any difficulties that may occur in that bench area. Try and keep it simple. What questions do you have?
Hey, Mike, let me go to this previous play. I was noticing, and this may be something that we see. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. It seems like back judges tend to be a little too close to the return man position-wise, and I wonder if sometimes it isn't because of this desire to be close enough to toss that beanbag and get an accurate spot. And I'm just speculating here. You watch this back judge. He looks too close to me, too close to the receiver, because it just seems like half the time the ball bounces all over the place, and we then get kind of caught up in all sorts of stuff. But shouldn't we just be prepared to beanbag that from a further distance and drop it or something where – anyway, go ahead and answer the question. Sorry.
Well, yeah, if you'll back up to the play, I think that no worries. Overall, he's not too deep. I like his depth, but he is too close. So if we think about the hash marks and we split the hash marks, we've got 9 yards either side. He should be about maybe midway, right? Because this player is off. If we look at where he's at, if he's a little wider, but I think more than anything else, he's not looking where he should be looking. He's looking at the ball carrier. Where's the threat with the potential receiver? He should be looking more in the center of the play. Let's say at about the 35, and he should be. And you're right, he should be closer to midfield. And then that way he can look at the blocks as they're coming up to get at that return man.
And it's also in the mechanics book that we should be wide enough to where we see both arms or both hands. And in that play, I don't think he could see, both hands.
Yeah.
We've talked before about, having some space and being able to open up our vision. I mean, when we're way too close, we're just too tight and we're missing too much stuff. And, I agree. I like the depth there, but if we were just wider by even by 3 yards, I think we would be in really, really good shape.
Exactly. And I think in most cases, there's always exceptions with what we do, but in most cases, wider is better than deeper. Wider
let me
is
pick
better
on,
than deeper.
And real quick, Kirk, just real quick, Kirk, where that play ended, we don't care where the beanbag is. We don't. It's not super. It's important, obviously, to have the end of the kick, but we don't need to toss it. And if we can just run up where we think it is and just drop it, and if it's close to a big line, put it on a big line, then we probably should be doing it.
So you'd say plus or minus a couple yards is plenty accurate.
Absolutely. Especially on that part of the field. I mean, what is the difference of 1 or 2 yards there going to make a difference? No. Is anybody going to say anything?
No.
And if they are, then we're worrying about. We've got bigger stuff to worry about than something like that.
So, Mike, let me pick on this one. So it seems that we're constantly talking about if we're still longer, the better we are. And this looks like a back judge that's moving into a position, and I almost question why wouldn't we be in that position anyway, because the receiver really didn't move a lot. What can we do to be more stationary instead of moving this much when the receiver really didn't move much?
Your guess is as good as mine.
I mean, is there a way that we can, like if you put me back there as an umpire, well, how could I be more still?
All right, let's take a look if we have the drone shot of it. All right, stop. He could be a little wider, right? If he's over on the, as we're looking at it, the right hash or closer to it.
So width might help him out here. Although from this angle, it doesn't look like he's moving a lot, but I think our desire is to just move less.
Well, yeah, sometimes you've got no choice.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Agreed.
And when we were breaking these plays down, I was surprised how much movement is necessary, especially once that ball hits the ground.
Yeah. If you go back there one more time, Kirk, if you go back there one more time, let me just give you a generality. And this is going to work for a referee. This is going to work for an umpire and a punt mechanic. When you have the person that you're responsible for coverage, or you have players coming at you, one of the best things that you can do is retreat at a 45-degree angle. And you can see that while he retreated, he didn't get much of an angle on it. And the reason you go at an angle is so that you don't get caught up in the play. And whether you're a referee or an umpire in our experimental punt mechanic or you're a back judge, there's going to be times where that runner is just going to do something totally unexpected, and you're going to be stuck.
Good point. Angles are our friend. Okay, we're going to shift into our next phase of discussion here. And Chuck Hickey's going to start us off with kick-catch interference conversation here. All right, Hickey, this is play 102, the first on your list. Let me see if I can get it started from the beginning. So we've got,
Go ahead and stop.
the grade team.
Yep.
Grade team punting.
Great team punting here. So we are back with our returner. As we talked about, if he wants that protection, give the fair catch. As the back judge, you were back there on the island, your priority is that returner and making sure, he's as protected as possible. So we have a kick here coming down. He's coming in for the catch. Here comes a K player right in his vicinity, right here at the top of the numbers, and just levels him. Not giving him an opportunity to catch the ball. Bounces off of him. It goes down. We need to, we do have a flag on this play, which is obviously is good. We need to continue to officiate this play, but we also need to know once K comes into it is still a kick. We do not have any possession here by
I'll let it play.
Okay. Once K gain possession of that ball, we need to kill that play at the 20. Just go ahead and let it go all the way through here again. So we have a flag. You could have a beanbag for first touching. Do we have first touch? No, our touch. Never mind. We have a flag for KCI.
All right. So I talked when we were preparing about asking these veteran back judges where their support is, and I'm watching this thinking, Chuck, you wouldn't need to worry about what number made contact with him, would you? You wouldn't want to waste brain power on that when you've got a ball now bouncing around and a scramble for it. Correct? You might have some help from your fellow officials with the contact being made if we need an announcement on it.
I would hope I could have a number, but I might not. I mean, there's a lot of action going on here, obviously. I mean, we've got a KCI, we've got a flag, we've got a ball on the ground. R can still pick up this ball and run with it if they gain possession. We need to still have in our head, it's still a kick, and I try to muscle memory that, it's still a kick, and just kind of keep that going in my head, okay, it's still a kick until it's no longer a kick, and in that situation, obviously it was still a kick, knowing that K cannot return a kick, and so blowing that dead. And so
I'm sure
once,
Chuck,
yep, go ahead.
I was going to say, and I'm sure, Chuck, the other thing that you're probably doing is you're saying the color of the kickers, the color of the receivers. Green is kicking, red is receiving,
Yes.
whatever
Yes.
the case may be.
And this is a situation where we seem to be a little bit out of position under our mechanics. Look, we're outside of the hash marks. Would we have a better angle? And I would say yes, if this official was looking in from inside the hashes and not on top of this play when K recovers the ball.
No
And that's
question.
why I like that mechanic of us being inside of the hash marks, because he's on top of this, right, a little bit more right there. I mean, he's the players are behind. The players are getting by him. And
we'd also say the spot is not super critical. I mean, K's going to end up with a football, whether they get it at the 20 or the 15. It is celebration time.
Right there, we should be killing it in this play. We don't need this tackle. Everybody's going to be celebrating. K thinks they have the ball. They're not going to be getting it because we do have the flag for the KCI.
All right, let's jump to the next play here. This is kind of funny. We've got looks like a coach still leaving the field when we leave the football. That's probably a little bit early there.
So again, we got a kick. We got a fair catch signal. K recognizes it and lets up, trying to get out of the way. K is responsible for allowing R to make, if R is in position to make the catch, to do so unobstructed.
So you think this is a little close, Chuck?
I think it's way too close, even though he's trying to let up. And even if there is no contact, we can still have KCI without contact.
Just because he affected the receiver.
He affected the receiver. You could see his head coming down. I mean, the ball goes down.
Hey, Chuck, what kind of a signal would you allow? How strict are you? And Jeff, same to you. How strict are you as far as an actual fair catch signal?
I'm good with this. I try and find my returners in the pregame and talk with them and just let them know, hey, if you want that fair catch, get it up high, and I'll protect you.
Yeah, same here. I tell them, hey, clear and high, otherwise let it go or run. I mean, there's your options right there, and then that's it.
So guys, what about the receiver that gets maybe 5 fingers and a palm above the shoulder pads? Are you going to say that's an okay signal?
I tend to give them the benefit of the doubt. Again, I want to make sure I have that conversation with them. I see them in the pregame and make sure, hey, clear and high, so we can eliminate that. That's what we want to try to prevent, is that iffy in between. So if his intent was to have, then I will come in and I'll say, hey, I need to see that higher next time, but I give it to him that one. It's kind of where I'm at.
So
yeah, I'm the same way, and I'll tell them, if they do something and it's close, I'll say, hey, it's got to be, you got to get it up better for me. I can't protect you if you don't get that up higher and more clear. This play here, this is good, but certainly in pregame, I will say, hey, and I'll tell them, don't make me guess.
Right, and that really goes to my point. My point is that in most cases, we're going to take just about any kind of signal as a fair catch signal, as long as it's up. And then we're going to perform corrective officiating with the player so that they do what we want them to do. Let me transition then to coverage on this.
Absolutely.
Coverage on this, we've got a line judge that's gone too far. We've got a back judge that's too wide and possibly too deep. All right. When we talk about coverage with our line judge, we're talking about go about halfway the distance that punter is going to kick the ball. If you don't know, if you haven't seen him, if you didn't warm up, let's figure a 40-yard punt. That means you're going to go about 20 yards from the line of scrimmage on average. Okay. When those two K or R started to converge, the line judge could have stopped. He could have stopped, let's say, right there. That would have been okay. He's 11 yards away from the potential receiver. If he sets up shop and officiates from that 40, he can see whether or not the player on the 35 is going to block the green player in the back. Once it gets past them, on the other hand, then he has to make a determination on the sideline, but he can see that from a real far distance. There's no one in between him and the sideline. So I'd like to see
it's a great point.
Agreed.
Like to see the back judge not as far away, right? So he's maybe a little deep, but he could go 3 yards closer to the receiver without it being a problem. And he has to pick up whether or not we've got interference. Line judge can help him with it, but if he moves with a purpose, sees that his receiver is moving up because the kick is what? Short, then he should move up as well.
I can just read the brim here. It looks like our wing is watching the receiver. I think it is a global problem. Our wings are coming down too far on punts. So it's something I would like to help get cleaned up, because we need to be watching this action right here. It's almost like this wing is almost winning the race downfield. He's keeping up with these gunners.
So let's back up. Where's our line of
these.
scrimmage?
36, 35, 36. On the hash, position 1. And I think as a back judge, stop it right there. I agree with Mike. We need to come in a little bit more. And when we do have punt, we can sneak a peek in and just get a read on at least the direction of the punt. And certainly the returner is going to take us where that ball is going to be. And we are definitely a little too deep here and too wide.
I think we need to move on to the next clip, but let me throw this out. You guys were talking about the validity of the signal. You're going to call this KCI regardless of a signal, aren't you?
Correct.
Doesn't that have no impact on whether this is KCI? So if you've got it with a signal or without, it's the same?
It is.
Yep.
Unobstructed to make a catch if the receiver is in the area.
Okay. All right, Chuck, I think we're going to run out of time with your plays.
That's okay.
These are all great comments. So we're going to, let's see, we got another one here. This is Contact by R is the title. Oh, yeah, this is one of my favorites. This guys, pay attention to this one. This is why I'm an umpire, not a back judge right here.
So we need to watch the whole thing and not just our receiver. And if you let this go through.
Okay, hold on. Let me take everybody back again. So I want to slow this down, and I don't think we can slow this down enough.
No.
Dark color is punting.
Yes.
So blue is kicking. So white is blocking blue.
Legally blocking right there. Blue blocking white into white.
So
That
blue
sounds
is
like a
K.
state playoff test question.
I reached out to someone who was on here tonight and I said, I think this was a playoff question. And he said it was, so.
Okay, so you wanted to play this out to the end. Note when the back judge signals timeout 45 times, he is processing some information.
And looking for help, actually, I think.
And looking for help.
He's looking for a lot of help me on this test question and what we need to do here.
All right, so let's throw out the test question just to make sure everybody. It might be tough for everybody to see what's going on. The test question is if K blocks R into the receiver, is there a foul? That'd be a fair way to ask the question. So there, K.
That would be a nice full question. Yes.
Do we have KCI if K blocks R into his own receiver?
No, Mike Bush
and the
throws
correct
out
answer?
Mike Bush throws out on the chat. He says no foul.
No foul.
Matt Miller cites a rule 656. He believes.
Oh
which
boy.
Probably states no foul.
So again, we're going to have to move. We're going to have to move off of this play, but I think this is a good example. You were talking about the back judges processing some stuff and maybe even looking for some help. As back judges, and I'm a wing, and I come in because as a wing I should be able to give you some intel. How best do I convey that, or what would be a good way in this moment of just your brain's just going through all sorts of questions and information? What's the best way to communicate to you guys, or should we let you ask the question? I'll give that to Chuck. Chuck, what if I'm a wing and you're dealing with this? Do I come in and say,
"How big are my eyes? How big are my eyes?"
Well, your eyes are big.
Oh no, they're big, Gary. Yeah, no, they're big. If you
you can see the wing coming in.
Hey, I saw R. I saw who was kicking here. See, I'm already out of it. Blue. Dark was kicking. Blue was kicking.
Yes, blue was kicking.
Hey, I had white blocking blew into him here. And a lot of this is rules. I mean, he's probably looking for some help because as the back judge, a lot of my focus is going to be on that returner. Do we have a fair catch signal? We're going to try and protect him. Is he going to get blown up, like we had in that first play? So I might not see it. But if I have that info that, hey, he got the returner's teammate got blocked into him, that is obviously a lot of info, that is high info that I'm going to need. And then again, it's going to be, okay, process the rule. What is the rule? And is there a foul? And there's no foul.
One of the things I'll add to that, I mean, and we've had this pregame conversation before with the wings, primarily the line judge is your support when it can be,
Correct.
If they can get downfield. But
Yep.
I say, look, if I don't come up giving a signal, I'm uncertain. And I'm not going to just give a signal because I think I know who has the ball, whose ball it is. No, I'll have to be 100% certain, then I'll give an indicator. If I don't, come in to me because I'm going to need to talk to you about it. So that's his trigger, his key, his indicator is for me. If I don't give a signal, and I had one with Cherry Creek and Grandview, very similar to this right here, but I felt comfortable knowing I saw it. It came to me slowly, and it was a bang bang just like that. And I gave a signal, and we got in halftime, and one of the wing official line judge says, "I was going to come in. You got it right," but he knew I already had that signal. But that was for us to communicate that if I don't give a signal, come to me. Help
Yep.
me. Okay.
Do we need to separate you guys from the players to talk about this, or is this really information that you're welcome to share amongst a crowd of players that want to help you out with the call too?
We're a crew. Let's get it right, and let's get all of the information together, compile it all, and then I like that. Okay, this back judge he probably did not know exactly what he had, and he might have seen a block here, okay, and did not make an immediate signal. Let's just, we're a crew. Get together, talk it out. What's the number one thing? Beyond player safety. Get it right.
And he could have very easily have lost track of K versus R, and that's one of the reasons.
Absolutely.
I mean, that could have happened. Like, what?
No, this is bang bang. I mean, we've talked about bang, with these things, and that's why, as a back judge, we always root and always say before that kick, block that kick, block that kick.
Yep. All right, we're gonna shift over to Penny's momentum here.
Okay.
We had a couple more plays, but I think
we're good.
Let me, as you run through this play, I'm not going to talk specifically to that play. I'm going to go ahead. I want to cover that rule. This rule, momentum.
Okay.
Momentum allows a defender or kick receiver to make a play without giving up a safety. I mean, that's the main thing. So what I'm saying is when a defensive player, when they intercept a forward pass, intercepts or recovers a fumble, backward pass, or a Team R player catches or recovers a scrimmage kick, between his 5, it's the 5-yard line and the goal line, his original momentum carries him into the end zone. Where the ball is declared dead in his team's possession, where it goes out of bounds in his end zone, the ball belongs to the team in possession at the spot where the pass or fumble was intercepted or recovered. And that's a lot in that little, definition of that rule to try to follow. And be in position and be stationary and be square to the action. So the beanbag spot's critical, and I want to cover that because that might also determine the enforce of a penalty that occurs after the possession was obtained. So a couple of things to note here, and I want to make sure for those who, just as if I get really basic, there's no rule that prohibits bringing out the ball or that makes the ball dead in this situation, okay? Now, if I'm on the goal line and the receiver catches the kick inside the 1, I'm most likely, I'm going to tell you, and some may disagree with this, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. If his momentum carries him into the end zone, and I'm going to rule that touchback. If he catches that to 2, however, There's no way I can sell touchback in that scenario. So when I say, or when it said momentum exception, the exception that applies is the original momentum must be the cause of the ball entering into the end zone. So that's key. So as we run through a couple of these plays here, we're going to see, and it's going to be determined, and the key component here is where you are as an official on that field and stationary square to the action. And the goal line is very important. The goal line is key to where you can see it entirely. Here, that's we've got a catch. Yeah, I can talk about possession. I mean, that's really simple. And in any simple terms I can put it is, it's just a live ball that is held and controlled by a player. There's your possession. So he goes, catches it in the field of play. His momentum, his original momentum, carries him into the goal, into the end zone with the ball. Here we're gonna take it out to where that spot, back to that spot again. Is I believe we've got a good coverage on this. I'd like to see the back judge here. I'd like to see that back judge be more straddling that goal line. In this case, square up to the action and not moving. I mean, he can take 2 or 3 steps toward the goal line right now and be right there instead of having to come in. Now, afterwards, he comes in and they're probably just making sure they communicate to ensure that they're connected. They're both on the same page with where the ball should be placed. So that's fine. I think that's always a good practice. You can never communicate. You can never communicate too much on the field. That's for sure. So in this case, it's pretty. In this play, pretty much he makes the catch. He comes down. He goes into the end zone. His original momentum carries him and the ball into the end zone. Now we're going to beanbag that spot, and that's where it would be Team B's ball. Okay.
Penny, you can't stretch this to be a touchback?
If it is at the 1, I definitely, like I said earlier, I'm going to make it a touchback. I probably, in this case here, from this angle, from where I'm at, where we're looking at it, I'd be a little hard pressed to sell that one.
Okay.
But if it's at the 1 and it's going in, I am going to do it.
I think I could sell touchback here.
And probably one could. I mean, I wouldn't doubt that. I mean, I like, the phrase, be wrong strong. I mean, sell it. Sure. Don't hesitate it. Make sure, but yeah. So
I do like how the crew.
I'm not saying that you're wrong, but I that close. I think we could sell touchback, and no one's going to blink an eye here.
Yeah,
I do like the when in doubt. I think there could be doubt in this particular play. When in doubt, let's make it a touchback and bring it out, because you're kind of splitting hairs if you try to. I struggle here too. We talk about possession or a catch. When is it a catch? That time element of a catch. Obviously, if that ball comes out, it's incomplete.
That's a good point. I just mentioned possession. Just a live ball that's held and controlled by a player. I recall a reference made, and I look at Redding's study guide quite a bit. So, and in that book, I recall a statement being made about, in the basketball world, possession is simple. It's the ball belongs to the opponent, or something along these lines, where the ball belongs to the opponent of the team, which caused the ball to go out of bounds, right? Well, in football, there's no blanket declaration for that. In fact, in most cases, the opposite is true. Except for maybe a punt or a kick, scrimmage kick that goes out of bounds, forced kick by the punter. Otherwise, the ball belongs to the team which had team possession when the ball went out of bounds. And there are several scenarios that can support that. One that comes to mind is like a backward pass, which goes out of bounds between the goal lines. Belongs to the passing team. Okay, the ball which is fumbled out of bounds between the goal lines belongs to the fumbling team at the out of bounds spot. An incomplete, legal forward pass is returned to the previous spot, and it's still passing team's ball. What will happen is a change of possession that occurs when Team B or our player gains possession during the day out. You will, then now you got to change possession. So I don't know if I answered your question there. I mean, there's other types like, airborne receiver and sideline catch and things of that nature, but you have to have control of the ball. It has to be held and controlled by a player to have possession.
So Kirk, initially thought the same thing that you were thinking, the same question you had, which is a time element. But we have a different standard when the player goes to the ground, and that standard is survives the going to the ground and still maintains possession. I believe that to be the case.
Yep, I agree with that statement. And he did go to the ground, so the time element goes away, doesn't it?
Correct.
So for me to sell, that position, that spot at the 1, I mean, I think, again, I'm just going to emphasize position. It's important to stay square the action. It's important that when the action is taking place, and that's from the 5-yard line to the 3. I mean, I'm going to try to be, I'm going to work to be on that. Mentally, I'm going to think, get on the goal line and straddle it and just stay there. And if you don't make that the ideal, if you don't work to get to that place, just get square and set at the time of the action. There's no need to have to move much. I mean, you don't want your eyes to be going up and down. You just want to be able to say, I saw that well before a step and a half, 2 steps, as T would say, 2 steps before that even happened. And then you can make that determination. So position is everything for us on the field.
So this particular play, the back judge he does sell it strong. He comes in with a touchback signal right away. And I bet he didn't get any pushback from anybody on this. I think you could probably debate that the possession was in the field of play, but I think you're in that zone where you're going to, everybody in the stands, they don't understand momentum. They see this ball going into the end zone. I think this is a good touchback. You guys all in? You guys like this?
Oh,
we would prefer him to be still at the goal line right there. Stop, square, see this. Might have helped him, but
yeah,
certainly is confident. Is there any reason to face the field when you signal touchback? Or can we continue to watch the
Well, you got that action that's going to go on in the end zone, so you want to watch those players. But when you're square right here, as opposed to turning, if you just stay square and then you can just rotate toward the players just a little bit, now you've still got you've got good dead ball officiating, and that's the end of every situation, every play. Just go slow and DBO.
Agreed.
And I tell you, that's the difference between good to better and better to great for us officials, is catching that action after the play.
All right, Penny, I skipped over the third play because we're going to now punt the ball from the 50 towards the goal line. We'll let this play out and then reset it. You guys will be a little bit blurry, but if I were to describe the action, I think the return man picks it up at the 2 and enters the end zone. You can see our back judge is signaling, I could use some help here after his 45th timeout wave.
He does, and this is one I don't. Let's go back to the start as that from the very beginning here and run through this. So I don't recall actually seeing this play, but so the back judge, what I'd like to see here, and again positioning, is staying over to he may see the movement of the players going to the outside. All he's got to just back up, don't run into it, and get on that goal line. Now, as the as he tries to make an attempt to catch, he doesn't. He gets by him. Now he's going back. His momentum is taking him back, and now into the goal. I'm gonna say for myself from this view, I'm gonna go ahead and declare this as his original momentum, and give him the benefit of the doubt. Otherwise, what do we have? I mean, if we say okay, he did not, his original momentum did not push him into that goal line. He gets tackled in the end zone. We got safety. But here in this case, I'm gonna say okay, he's got momentum, and that his momentum has carried him into the end zone where he got tackled. We're going to bring the ball out to about the 2. And we're going to say first down, team B, or R is where I'm at. But again, it's the positioning. The back judge, just instead of coming in toward the play, is stay in the middle of the field and straddle that goal line. He's got every view that he possibly can see without even moving here. And it makes it so much easier to sell. So
one thing I'd like to hear you back judges say that I've gravitated towards, when it's a punt like this, the end line means nothing, correct?
Oh, right.
There is nothing that end line it has anything to do with this play, because if that kicked ball goes across the end line or even in the end zone, once it goes past the goal line, the decision has already been made on what we do with that. It broke the plane. We've got a touchback, right?
Yep.
So stopping at that goal line is really, there's no reason to go any further. Now, in this case, I mean, this is a tough one. He just gets caught because the play comes back at him.
He got caught.
And
He's outside of the hash mark, like we talked about, and he's moving. We talked about being inside the hash mark. And when your deep receiver is inside the 15, be on that goal line and stay there until it is no longer threatened.
So one other point I'd like to make with this, Kirk, is that if that runner was to continue into the end zone and run around, I mean, I just want to cover that. I don't know if we have a clip here, and this might be the last clip, but I want to say, hey, if he ends up and the ball enters into that end zone, it's inconsequential, providing the ball never returns to the field of play. And the defensive team has position at the end of the down, right? So also remember the key to leaving the end zone is the location of the ball. So if a player intercepts a pass on his 2, and he's carried into the end zone by his original momentum, I keep emphasizing original momentum, and then after running around, he breaks the plane of the goal line with only part of his body and not the ball, the exception still applies. So keep that in mind. Just wanted to make that point.
Good comment. I think we might need to go to the next one, but here is, let's see if I really would like another. I think this is another punt play where K's momentum, I like this play too. So the white jersey team is kicking the ball, and we've got a kicking player who grabs this ball in the field of play and carries it into the end zone. It's ways away in the film.
Yeah, and so for this one, as long as he's not impeding a receiver being able to get to the ball, and in this case, I think right when he catches that ball, I'm blowing it dead. I mean, that's the end of the kick. If he catches it and he's not in any interference with R in their attempt to catch the ball, if he catches it in the field of play, it's dead. He can't advance, so he has no momentum. So I'm going to say that in this case, ball bounced, and he catches it right there. It's when he comes down. Oh, God. Okay.
Looks like a bobble.
Yeah. So he has to make sure it's clean. And from here,
right?
That one I probably could sell as touchback if I've got, if I've got a good position. For me, I want to make sure I've got a good position. That helps me sell it. I'm going to move it into a touchback on this one, it looks like. And, R is going to get it at the 20.
I would agree.
The visiting fans will try to convince you that this is a touchdown right here. So you cannot be influenced by the fact that that's a touchdown. That is not ever, ever, ever a touchdown.
That's part of that thing you learned a long time ago when you first started officiating. You're 50% wrong every time you make a call.
Not a touchdown. Okay. All right. We're going to, and I'm going to apologize. We may run a little long tonight, but there's just some good stuff we got coming. So, Penny, are you good if we shift into muffed punts?
Yeah.
Play number 8.
Great job. Okay. Set up here play number 8.
Or yard line anyway.
So you had a couple slides, Mike. Do you want those first?
No, we don't need those. We're just going to skip over the
play 8
because we covered a lot of the earlier stuff. We already covered with the initial position, guys, is the foundation for your coverage. Let it rip. Go ahead.
Okay.
Again, this is something we just need one look at. It's pretty obvious. Stop right there. Where's my back judge? Okay, let it roll.
Hello, back judge. Come in, back judge.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, and from
you want to see that again, or you want to see the end zone now?
No, let's just see the drone.
Or the drone. So we got White in the force screen here, punting away from us to the receiver. Oh, yeah.
All right, so way too deep, and then follows it out of bounds. Well, we don't have that mechanic anymore. I guess there are players going into the opponent's bench. That would be a good reason to get over there.
So you don't like this back judge just chasing the ball out of bounds here?
There's no need to.
Yeah. Although there's not a lot going on here. That coverage was pretty bad, wasn't it? All right, play 37.
Stop.
Oops, I think I stopped too late. Mike, let me get that reset for you. Okay, so this ball, did I go too far here?
All right, this is
all
the
right,
one
play
we want to look
37.
at.
Sorry. Okay, I'll slow it down here because I think it chops off right at the end
Right
where
about
you want
there.
to.
Right about
Okay.
there. Okay, so again, we don't have a back judge within the same zip code at this point. We've got a player that's down, maybe he's down, maybe he's not, but the back judge doesn't know because he's straight line. He gets the call right. But again, coverage, if you're out of position to start, and we're in agreement based on what the book says that we're not going to be real deep. He was real deep. So it is going to impact how you cover the play. This is the same play, but the drone is still behind the kickers, so it may throw you off because they're kicking in what feels like a different direction.
I don't know, Mike, adding up some yards there, that's back about 20 yards, 18 yards behind the receiver.
Right, and he's not at the goal line. We're not threatening the goal line either. So,
and we're moving.
So, moral of the story, wider is your friend. You don't want to be very deep. Let's move on to the next clip. Okay, so what we're going to have here, if you want to pause it for just a second, is we're going to have a kick that goes down inside the 5, and we have a kamikaze returner. Let it roll.
Oh, that play.
Yeah.
Oh, this play.
that one's one of my favorites.
And it's a
All right, so
favorite.
we're going to see another angle. The play that was heard around the state.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Stop. And
So can I back it up, Mike? Can you set this up? Was the ball touched at this point at all?
No.
Did it contact
the
anybody?
ball's correct. No contact. The receiver decides, let me do this. And what we're not really going to be able to see is 2 hands on the ball. That's a great shot right there. 2 hands on the ball. He lifts the ball, and then he's contacted. Doesn't lift it very far. He doesn't lift it very far, but he lifts it.
1/10 of a second.
Yeah.
Can we stop it? Can we go back? Can we go back real quick? Go forward just a hair. Go forward just a bit. Nope, the other way. Sorry.
The other forward. Huh?
Oh, keep going.
Toward the goal line. Keep going. Right there. A little bit more. Hair more. Stop. These officials are in great position.
Yep.
They are. That back judge is in great position. This line judge is in great position. This is the ultimate bang bang. I mean,
well, the rule.
Holy crap! and it's a playoff game. I mean, this is a big boy playoff game. And those two were in great position. Unfortunately, it got cut off. But
I think we see the end of it here.
Okay. They were in great position. And, I mean, again, a kick is a kick is a kick.
So I hate to steal your show here, Mike, but do you get any help out of these fans that are on the goal line? Oops,
no, they had plenty of opinions, and so did the coach.
All right, Mike, help us finish this play off here. We'll be quiet for you. This was just an exciting play.
Oh my God!
So in this year, this was the last year that we had the straight NFHS ruling. And this is in part the reason why. It was purely judgment. Possession was the slightest. There was no time element, nothing doing inherent to the game with the ball, none of that. So based on that rule set, that mindset, I think the two officials that we see in the screen really did an awesome job. They were, as Chuck noted, in great initial position. As the play developed, they went with the play to the responsibilities, because once that ball is in the end zone, if he possessed the ball and we had a fumble, then the end line is the next most important money line, and our back judge does move back there. They went ahead and talked, and, well, we now have a different interpretation of what a recovery is.
So if I can talk here, what happened right here, we don't get the film on it. The back judge goes up with a touchdown signal.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Just like the two guys behind the line judge.
Yeah, maybe he was influenced by this here. But so he goes up with a signal, and I think what made this even more difficult to deal with, because the ruling ultimately became a touchback. So we get a touchdown signal here from the back judge, and our wing mirrors, or at least thinks the same, and he goes up with a signal. So now we have a touchdown, and then an in concrete support signal. And then the conversation ensued, which was, did he have possession? Because if he didn't possess this ball, it's still in kick status. We got a touchback. And so this playoff game went from a 7-point score here to a touchback, and R gets the ball at the 20-yard line. And there's quite a heated conversation between the white team's coach, or I'm sorry, the dark team's coach and the white hat. So, yeah, this quite the play. So, Mike, do you want to finish this play before we go to the next, or are you ready for the next one?
Okay, the next one is, let's move on. The next one is actually it's a muff.
A muff is a muff is a muff?
Yep. Okay, we've got 3 views of this, Kirk, so the next one should be the end zone. Went right through the hands, off the belly, and on the ground. Rolling around, a lot of ball players.
You say you got 3 angles of this?
Yeah, the other one is simply a coach's view. May not help as much as the first 2.
You know what, though? We talk a lot about, when we have a head coach chewing our ass about that was an incorrect call, and you go, how could you possibly know it was incorrect? You had the worst seat in the stadium to know whether or not. Well, he's got coaches in the press box looking at this angle, telling him what happened.
And they probably have binoculars.
And they have binoculars.
Yeah. But Kirk, that does bring up another thought, and it really has to do more with penalties, and that's officiating to video. And as you can see, things got smaller here. And if you think about that, when it comes time to throw your flag, it could be a good thing. Make them big. You want to go back to the other 2, Kirk? I really don't have much more. I really don't have much more to say other than, it was muffed. It was still a kick. It was still a kick.
Mm-hmm.
It went into the end zone.
So position-wise, if we're this close to that goal line, any reason to come off of the goal line?
Just to get a better angle, see the hands.
Okay.
If he's catching that inside the 5, I stay put on that goal line. It's still threatened.
True. But
as evidenced here, but
yeah.
So I go back to my statement to dumb this down for an umpire. Unless there's possession by R, there is no possible way for K to score a touchdown. So we can just completely dismiss that as an option.
Correct.
So here this
is a touchback. This is a touchback.
We have a safety signal, don't we?
Signal all you
That's
want.
how this finishes. That's a
safety
safety signal right there.
Yeah, you're right. Who is signaling? Is that the back judge?
That is the back judge. So can we all agree that the only way to have a safety signal is, again, if there was possession and that receiver ran into the end zone and got downed, and momentum wasn't an exception. So the safety is even more remote of a candidate. You have to have possession to have a touchdown or a safety. So maybe they came in and overturned this.
Well, I think exactly right. After this little brief conversation, Blue is a lot more disappointed than they are right now.
Yes. Yeah. This is
all right. Let's jump to another play.
I'm out of them.
Oh, is that so? We are out of time as well. So, guys, thank you. We jammed a lot of stuff in here, and I apologize. We ran a little long. I figured we would tonight. We had a lot of stuff to go through. Thank you all for joining us. I'll get this posted up on the Google channel. Hope you guys are all healthy and safe. We'll be on next Thursday, and we're gonna break down the force rule again. We can't talk about force enough. So if you want to join us for more conversations of force, see you Thursday night. If not, stay healthy. Gentlemen, I'm not going to do any parting thoughts, but outstanding job. You guys are rock stars. Thank you all for joining us. Have a good night.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Have a good
Be
evening,
safe. We'll see y'all next week.
See you. Bye.